How come?
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm very inspired by what I see here. This is great. So much interest. That's great. When I was 5 years old, I woke up one night and I heard a girl crying in the room next to me. 4-year-old girl, and she was being sexually molested by a fully grown man. So I was about this size back then. I stopped him. I ended up in the hospital. I paid a price for it. But I understood what it meant to be attacked or to have a sexual predator around you and what it does to somebody's life. I also know what effect it had on that girl for the rest of her life. So that always was in the back of my mind. Many years later, I was heading up a project in Los Angeles. After the tsunami, the Larsson, the big tsunami in 2004, and I was heading up a project that was working with people in India who had been, that were victims of the tsunami. They found a 6-year-old girl on the streets, and she was taking care of her 1-year-old brother, and she had nothing. So we took her in and we helped her, and she inspired the book, which I'm going to talk about, because I wondered to myself, how does a 6-year-old girl survive? What happens to these kids? What happens to them? And I found out when I researched it, much the same as everybody else has researched it, that they end up in prostitution rings. They get sold into sexual slavery as young, and quite commonly as young as the age of 8 years old. The girl that we found was 6 years old, and had we not helped her, she could have ended up in a sexual ring. So she inspired the book.
Can you please tell us about you have a new book?
Yeah.
Or two, maybe, actually. I have just seen the first one, See Me Not.
This is See Me Not. Here is the book I just am telling you about now. This is based on this girl, what would have happened if she hadn't been taken off the streets. I wrote a second book 2 years later called Quantum Assault, which is actually about a sex trafficking ring in Canada. And it's a crime fighter series, but it's based on facts too, about how young girls are essentially forced into sexual prostitution, into servitude from Romania and other countries in Europe, and they're transported over to Canada and sold into Canada, into the US as sexual slaves. So that was my second book on the subject. This third book has nothing to do with sex trafficking. It's just my latest publication, but it's having very good popular results internationally, and it's been rated as one of the top thrillers now. But I encourage you, this book really is a voice for 2 million kids that get forced into sexual slavery every year, roughly speaking. If you do the math, it's about 228 kids around the world every hour are forced into sexual servitude. So I wrote the book as a voice for them. It's an ambassador, because they can't talk about it. They're either afraid or they're forced into a lifestyle that they don't want to have. So that's what the book's for. That's why I'm associating with Real Stars. And if you want to pick up a copy of the book or a couple and just throw them in a library, or just get it out, because it is a voice for those kids. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, Real, being here with us today.